I mean, if you want it done right, just let me handle it, honey. The room went still. Emma Costa blinked once. Then twice. Her voice had come out smooth, assertive, confident, even. But now all she could hear was the echo of that final word. Honey. The way it had rolled off her tongue in front of the entire creative team, a mixture of frustration and sarcasm and something dangerously sweet. Time seemed to hang suspended in the open concept conference room, every eye turning toward her, and especially toward Leah Morrow. Leah didn't flinch. On the contrary, she tilted her head slowly, that knowing, maddening smile spreading across her lips as if she had just tasted something forbidden and thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, she said, unfazed, her French accent curling subtly around each syllable. If honey says so, we better obey. A stifled cough, someone choking back laughter, someone else pretending not to stare. Emma's cheeks ignited as her brain scrambled to backpedal, to explain, to reframe the moment into something purely professional, purely accidental. But Leah had already leaned back at her chair, arms crossed, gaze lazily pinned to Emma like a sunbeam too warm to ignore. Game on. It had started as a tense creative clash, just another meeting where Emma had been trying to corral the team's ideas into something coherent while Leah kept throwing chaotic, beautiful concepts onto the whiteboard, half of them brilliant, half of them reckless. Their back and forth had been sharp, their tone curt, until Emma's tongue slipped, and suddenly, there it was. Honey. And now it was everywhere. Later that day, Emma sat at her desk, hands frozen over her keyboard, replaying the scene on loop in her head. She barely noticed when Leah appeared beside her with a folder. Client notes, Leah said, tapping the papers against Emma's desk. Need your magic, honey. Emma inhaled too fast.
Coughed.
Don't, she rasped, glancing up just in time to see Leah's smirk widen. Don't what? Leah asked innocently, propping herself against the desk like she lived there. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments, on a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. Don't say it, or don't notice how pink you turn every time I do. I wasn't, Emma began, but her throat closed around the words. She swallowed instead, forcing herself to break eye contact. Leah was a walking contradiction, effortless and bold, flirtatious and unreadable. She wasn't even sure if the woman was flirting, or just amused by how easily she could get under Emma's skin. For the rest of the day, it kept happening. Leah dropping honey in every other sentence. Leah brushing her hand accidentally against Emma's when passing notes. Leah standing just a little too close at the coffee machine, asking, "Too much sugar, honey?" in a voice low enough to sting. By the end of the day, Emma was spiraling. She closed the door to the copywriting suite behind her and collapsed into her chair, willing herself to breathe. She could not, would not, let this get to her. Leah was just doing what she always did, provoking, teasing, winning. It didn't mean anything. Except Emma wasn't sure she believed that anymore. 2 weeks ago, she had scoffed when the creative director announced the new hire. We're bringing in someone from Paris, fresh blood, fresh eyes. She's brilliant, you'll love her. Emma had rolled her eyes.
They always said that.
But when Leah walked in, black blazer, bold red lipstick, and that cocky little smirk, Emma had felt something shift, sharp and immediate. A threat. A spark. Maybe both. She hated that spark. Still hiding in here? Leah's voice slipped through the cracked door, uninvited. Emma looked up to see her standing in the doorway, not even pretending she wasn't enjoying this. I'm working, Emma said tightly. Alone. Leah stepped inside anyway.
Shame.
I was hoping we could brainstorm that tagline together. You know, for the campaign about irresistible cravings. She dropped her bag on the chair beside Emma's and sat like she belonged there. Emma exhaled. Do you ever turn it off? Leah leaned in, her expression unreadable now, something softer edging beneath the usual mischief. Only when I'm bored, she said. And you're never boring, Emma. The silence stretched. Emma felt it pulse between them like a current, buzzing and unpredictable. She should tell her to leave. She should set boundaries. But her voice betrayed her. "What do you want, Leah?" Leah's gaze dropped to Emma's mouth, then rose slowly. "You called me honey," she said. "I just thought it'd be rude not to return the favor." And just like that, she was gone, leaving behind a trail of perfume and a copywriter who could no longer remember what words were. Emma told herself the tension would wear off, that once the novelty of her slip wore down, Leah would get bored. But if anything, it was getting worse. 3 days had passed since the incident, and Leah was still finding every excuse to say it, every moment to make Emma's pulse spike, her brain short-circuit. It wasn't just the word anymore. It was the way Leah looked at her when she said it, like they shared a private joke no one else could hear. Like she was unwrapping Emma, slowly, without touching her. The entire team had started to notice. Subtle glances. Lingering silences. Even Ava from accounting had side-eyed Emma at lunch and whispered, "Are you too?" Emma had nearly choked on her salad. "No," she'd snapped, too quickly, too loudly. "We're just co-workers." "Sure," Ava had said, unconvinced. And the worst part? Emma wasn't even sure she believed it anymore. It didn't help that Leah had been assigned to co-lead the agency's biggest campaign of the quarter, with Emma. The two of them were now stuck in late meetings, mood board reviews, and pitch rehearsals, their chemistry impossible to ignore. Emma tried everything to shut it down. She avoided eye contact. She kept her replies clipped. She drowned herself in edits and notes and endless drafts. But Leah just leaned in closer. "You missed a comma, honey," she whispered during one of their joint review sessions, her breath brushing against Emma's ear like a secret. Emma flinched. "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "That thing where you say, honey." Leah smiled innocently, but her eyes sparkled like she knew exactly what she was doing. Emma stood abruptly. "I'm getting coffee." "Get me one too, will you, honey?" Emma didn't answer. She stormed to the break room and gripped the counter with both hands, trying to remember how to breathe. This was getting out of control. She wasn't flirting. She wasn't interested. Was she? Her body said yes. Her mind said no. Her heart, well, her heart had been behaving stupidly ever since Leah walked in with her perfect confidence and stupid red lipstick and the way she said Emma's name like it was something she wanted to taste. The coffee machine whirred to life as Emma replayed every moment from the past week. The stolen looks, the brushed fingers, the playful digs that felt a little too personal. She had been so careful for years, professional, untouchable, focused. And now, she was falling apart over one word. "Honey, you okay?" The voice made her jump. Leah was leaning in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her like she was a puzzle to be solved. "I'm fine," Emma said sharply. "You sure? You seem tense." "Maybe, because you won't leave me alone." Leah stepped into the room, her tone shifting slightly. "I'm not trying to mess with you, Emma." Emma let out a bitter laugh. "You've been calling me pet names in front of our coworkers for 3 straight days. If that's not messing, what is it?" "Teasing, maybe." "Why?" Leah didn't answer right away. She walked up slowly, stopping just short of Emma's face. Not touching, just standing there. "Because you react," she said softly. "And I like it." Emma's heart punched against her ribs. "You're playing with fire," she whispered. "I know," Leah replied, eyes fixed on hers. "But maybe you are too." Emma swallowed hard. The air between them crackled. Too close. Too loaded. She needed to break it. She turned away, grabbed 2 coffees, and pushed one into Leah's hand without a word. Then she walked out. But the damage was done. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Leah's face. Heard her say honey in that soft, deliberate voice. Felt the echo of her nearness like heat beneath the skin. She told herself it was just workplace tension. Nothing more. She told herself she didn't want anything to happen. But when she woke up the next morning, the first thing on her mind was Leah. Emma thought if she buried herself deep enough in work, she'd eventually stop thinking about Leah. She showed up early, stayed late, skipped lunch, kept her headphones in, and her replies monosyllabic. She revised every script for the Irresistible Cravings campaign 3 times over, built backup concepts, scheduled solo client calls just to avoid sitting too close to Leah in meetings. And yet, no matter how many layers of control she tried to wrap herself in, Leah always found the seams. It was a Tuesday morning when Emma opened her email and saw it, a shared folder update from Leah titled Sweet Edits. She clicked on it, expecting updated artboards. Instead, she found the same mock-ups they'd reviewed last week, but with one change. On the tagline beneath the image of melted chocolate dripping onto a spoon, Leah had replaced the original text with, "You know you want it, honey." Emma stared at the screen in stunned silence. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure whether to laugh, scream, or cry. She could not deal with this level of sabotage. She was about to type a scathing reply when a Slack message popped up. From Leah. Too much? Or just enough? Smiling face with halo, Emma closed her laptop. She stood, grabbed her phone, and walked straight out of the office, ignoring the receptionist, ignoring the meetings, ignoring the pulse in her neck that throbbed with confusion and rage, and something she was too scared to name. She didn't come back until the next morning. When she walked in, her inbox was full of apologies, from the project manager who had to delay a presentation, from her junior copywriter who couldn't access a deck, even from Leah. Didn't mean to push. Just thought you could use a laugh. Coffee on me today? Emma didn't answer. She needed distance. She needed rules. That day, she went straight to HR. Not to file a complaint, but to ask for a shift in accounts. Any excuse to be reassigned, even temporarily. But the answer was a polite no. The Irresistible Cravings campaign was too big. She was too crucial. So she sat through another meeting that afternoon, shoulders tight, eyes fixed on her notebook as Leah presented visuals, confident and glowing and completely unaffected by Emma's cold front. That night, unable to sleep again, Emma texted a friend she hadn't talked to in months. "You ever fall for someone you absolutely shouldn't?" The reply came quick. "What's her name?" Emma stared at the screen, guilt clenching her stomach.
Doesn't matter, she typed.
It's nothing. Just, I'm losing control. The next day, Emma arrived at the office to find a paper coffee cup on her desk. Her name was written on it in Leah's unmistakable handwriting, along with a tiny honeybee doodle beneath it. She looked up. Leah wasn't at her desk yet. Emma reached for the cup, tempted to throw it away, but paused. She opened the lid, sipped. Black, no sugar. Exactly how she liked it. She hated that Leah remembered that. She hated how her chest warmed when she tasted it. She hated that she didn't hate it at all. When Leah finally walked in, Emma didn't look up. She just muttered, "Thanks for the coffee." Leah paused behind her. Then, "Anytime, honey." This time, though, the way she said it was softer, quieter, like it wasn't a game anymore. Emma froze. For the first time in days, she turned in her chair and looked at Leah. Really looked. And something in Leah's expression was different. Less teasing, more uncertain. Like she was testing the waters instead of diving in. "Why are you doing this?" Emma asked, her voice low. "Because I like watching you blush?" Leah tried, but her smile didn't fully reach her eyes. Emma tilted her head. "That's not all of it." A beat of silence. Then Leah sighed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Because you make this place feel less fake," she admitted. "Because you're the only person here who doesn't kiss ass or sugarcoat. Because maybe I like the way you look when you're trying not to like me." Emma didn't have a reply. She couldn't. Her heart was too loud in her chest. Leah stepped back slowly. "I'll stop if you want," she added. "Seriously. No more teasing. No more honey. I didn't mean to mess things up for you." And for the first time since that accidental slip, Emma felt a strange ache when she imagined the silence it would leave behind. She nodded once, unsure. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's just focus on the work." Leah smiled faintly, then walked away. And Emma sat there, staring at the coffee cup, unsure if she had just fixed something or broken it. The office felt colder without it. It wasn't dramatic, not like a door slamming or a confrontation, but it was absence, noticeable in the quiet way Leah no longer lingered near Emma's desk, in the way their shoulders didn't brush anymore during meetings, in the way the word honey had vanished, taking with it the electricity that had buzzed under Emma's skin for days. It should have been a relief. And for the first few hours, maybe it was. Emma powered through tasks. She revised headlines. She even laughed once during a group brainstorm. But by lunchtime, the silence between her and Leah started pressing like a weight on her chest. They still worked together side by side, but now it was strictly professional. Clinical. Empty. Leah didn't tease. She didn't glance. She didn't hover. She didn't even smirk when Emma accidentally spilled tea all over her own notes. "I'll print new ones," Leah said, cool and polite. No nickname. No spark. And that, somehow, made it worse than any provocation ever had. Emma found herself watching Leah when she thought no one else would notice. The curve of her neck as she tied her hair up. The way her fingers moved across the tablet as she sketched. The slight crease between her brows when she concentrated. The softness in her smile when she laughed at someone else's joke. And more than once, Emma caught herself wishing Leah would slip again. That she would whisper honey just one more time. That she would cross that line again so Emma could feel the thrill of pushing her back. But Leah didn't. And Emma didn't know how to ask her to. That Friday, after a long pitch rehearsal, the team left one by one until it was just Emma and Leah in the presentation room, both packing up in silence. The tension was thick, not the playful kind, but the kind that builds between two people pretending nothing ever happened. Emma moved toward the door, but then stopped. Her hand hovered over the handle. "Hey," she said without turning. Leah looked up. "Yeah." Emma hesitated. The words formed in her throat, too hot, too raw. "You didn't mess things up," she said finally. Leah didn't answer right away. Then softly, "Didn't I?" Emma turned around. Leah was standing near the projector, her face unreadable, but her voice carried a note of real, vulnerable hesitation. "You asked me to stop," Leah added, "so I did. I thought I crossed a line you didn't want crossed." "You did," Emma said. "But maybe I didn't mind it as much as I pretended to." Leah's eyes flicked up to hers, quick and sharp, like a match catching fire. Emma felt her pulse respond instantly. Leah took a step forward. Then another. "Then why ask me to stop?" "Because I didn't know what this was," Emma whispered. "And I still don't." "Maybe we don't have to define it right now," Leah said. "Maybe we can just let it be." Emma's mouth opened, but no words came. She was terrified of what this meant, what it could mean if she let it go further. But she was more terrified of the hollow space that had grown between them this week. "Okay," she said. One word, soft and unsteady. Leah stepped closer. They were only inches apart now. "Okay," she echoed. "We let it be," Emma confirmed. Leah's smile returned, slow and unmistakably fond. "Good," she murmured, "because I was running out of ways to flirt without calling you honey." Emma laughed, quiet, breathless, like relief. And when Leah gently brushed a hand against her arm on the way out of the room, Emma didn't flinch. She followed her out into the hallway, heart pounding. That weekend, Emma couldn't stop thinking about her. She replayed every interaction, every glance, every near touch. She caught herself smiling while brushing her teeth, found herself lingering too long at her closet, wondering what she'd wear Monday, not for work, but for Leah. She didn't even notice how much she wanted to see her again until Sunday night, when the nerves started building in her stomach like static. Monday morning came. Leah wasn't there. Not at her desk. Not in the meeting. Not in the break room. Emma checked her phone, no messages. She tried to focus, but her eyes kept darting toward the entrance every few minutes, her brain inventing ridiculous scenarios. What if she quit? What if she changed her mind? What if Emma had misread everything? By noon, she was spiraling. And then, finally, Leah walked in, sunglasses, oversized scarf, holding her phone with an air of apology. "Sorry," she whispered to the project manager. "Doctor's appointment ran late." She looked fine. Tired, maybe, but still Leah. Still radiant in a way that made Emma feel like the office was slightly too small when she was near. Later that day, Emma passed by Leah's desk and paused. "Everything okay?" she asked, voice quieter than usual. Leah looked up and smiled. "I'm fine." Then, after a pause, "Missed me, honey?" Emma's lips parted, startled. It was the first time Leah had said it again since they'd called a truce. And hearing it now, soft, intentional, just for her, made every nerve in Emma's body light up like a switchboard. She didn't respond. She just smiled. And this time, she didn't look away. Emma told herself it didn't mean anything, that Leah calling her honey again was just a joke, a continuation of their strange little dance. But the truth was, it hit different this time. Not in a public setting. Not laced with sarcasm. No teasing audience. Just the two of them, in the soft hush of mid-afternoon, with Leah looking up at her like the word belonged to her now. Emma walked away from that moment feeling like she'd just been kissed without ever being touched. And she couldn't stop thinking about it. She'd always prided herself on being composed, even under pressure. But now her thoughts kept drifting mid-sentence. She kept rereading the same lines in her drafts. She snapped at her team for minor things, then apologized a minute later. Her focus was a mess, and the only common variable was Leah Morrow. She tried to act normal, tried to respond to emails, tried to pretend her heart wasn't skipping every time Leah walked by. But Leah wasn't making it easy. That week, she became subtler in her provocations. She stopped saying honey out loud, at least not often, but she started leaving it written. A sticky note left on Emma's desk read, "Final edits look sweet. Just like you, honey." A shared doc comment said, "This line's perfect. I'd frame it, honestly. Yours always hit hardest, honey." Emma would roll her eyes, erase the word, pretend to be irritated, but she always saved the notes in her drawer. And she hated herself a little for that. One afternoon, the team was reviewing mock-ups for a new client, one that demanded a more sensual, immersive campaign style. The room was full. Everyone was seated around the long table, passing visuals hand to hand, when Leah dropped a concept labeled, "Temptation starts here." The image was bold, almost provocative, and the tagline was sharp, smart, and dangerously flirtatious. "This is a little intimate," the creative director said, eyebrows raised. "What's the emotional target here?" "Desire," Leah answered smoothly. "The kind that builds quietly. The kind that sneaks up on you." Her eyes met Emma's across the table. "The kind that's already there before you admit it to yourself." The air went thick. No one else noticed. But Emma did. She felt it straight down her spine. When the meeting ended, Emma stayed back, pretending to organize notes. Leah lingered too, watching her from the other side of the room. Finally, Leah walked over, slow and deliberate. "You didn't say anything about the new visual," she said. Emma didn't look up. "You know it's good. But do you like it?" Leah asked. Emma took a slow breath, then raised her eyes. "You know I do," she said. "It's dangerous." "So are you," Leah murmured. The space between them crackled again. Emma could feel it, like something just beneath the surface, begging to rise. "Stop doing this if you're not serious," she said, her voice suddenly sharp. "I can't keep second-guessing if this is just fun for you, or if you're actually trying to get in my head." Leah didn't flinch. "I've been in your head since day one, Emma. But I'm not playing games. Not anymore." Emma blinked. Something in Leah's voice had shifted. It wasn't flirtation. It was real, grounded, raw. "Then what is this?" Emma asked, her throat tight. "Because we work together. This is complicated." "I know," Leah said. "But I still want it." Emma's heart slammed against her ribs. "You want what?" "You." The word dropped between them like a match into gasoline. Emma stared at her. And in that moment, there was no more pretending. No more redirection. No more clever comments or dodging glances. Just truth. Just heat. Just the two of them standing too close to pretend anymore. A knock interrupted them, and in turn needing Leah's approval on a sketch. She stepped away, apologetic, and left Emma standing there with her hands trembling and her chest burning. That night, Emma couldn't concentrate. She lay in bed replaying the moment over and over. I want you, those 3 words echoing louder than any Honey ever had. She wanted to run from it, and she wanted to dive headfirst into it. The next morning, Emma arrived earlier than usual. She didn't know what she was expecting. Maybe that everything would reset again. Maybe that Leah would pretend nothing had happened. But when Leah walked in, she didn't pretend. She placed her coffee on Emma's desk, again black, again no sugar. But this time, there was no note. Just a look. A quiet, open look. Emma stared at the cup. Then at Leah. Then she stood up, walked around the desk, and stopped just a breath away from her. You're sure? She asked, voice barely audible. Leah didn't hesitate. Yes. Emma hesitated. Then, slowly, almost cautiously, she reached out and touched Leah's wrist. Not her hand. Not her shoulder. Just enough to feel her. Just enough to break whatever invisible rule was still left between them. Okay, Emma said. And she meant it. For once, she wasn't overthinking it. She wasn't hiding behind work or professionalism or pride. She just said yes. And that simple word changed everything. Everything after that, okay, changed, but not in the way Emma expected. Nothing dramatic happened. No immediate kiss. No confessions in the middle of the office. No scandal. Instead, it was subtler. Slower. A different kind of charge. Leah didn't start touching her more. She didn't start using the word honey again in front of everyone. What changed was the way she looked at Emma. Like she was waiting, patient and steady, for Emma to catch up to something she'd already known for weeks. Emma walked through the day with a strange heat under her skin, like a secret she hadn't decided whether to keep or not. When she and Leah stood side by side in the elevator, their arms didn't brush, but Emma could feel the pull between them as surely as if they had. During meetings, their eyes met more often, but not with challenge anymore. With curiosity, with softness, with anticipation. And yet, nothing happened. Not until Thursday. The agency was chaos that day. Client feedback had come in sharp and fast. The pitch deck had to be restructured, and one of the junior designers had a meltdown over file corruption. Emma barely had time to breathe. But Leah was calm, focused. She moved through the room with quiet confidence, helping where she could, saying the right things, balancing the team with a grace Emma had never fully appreciated until now. At the end of the day, when most of the team had left, Emma was still sitting at her desk, massaging her temples, exhausted. Leah appeared in front of her without a word and dropped a cold bottle of sparkling water beside her hand. Emma looked up. Thanks. Leah sat on the edge of the desk. Long day. Long week, Emma corrected. You handled it. Barely. Leah tilted her head. You're harder on yourself than anyone else is. It's how I stay sharp. It's how you stay scared, Leah said softly. Emma froze. Scared of what? Leah leaned forward just slightly. Of letting something good happen. Emma blinked. Her throat tightened. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. Leah didn't wait for them. She stood up slowly, brushing a hand gently over Emma's shoulder, a first, deliberate touch. It lingered just a moment too long. Then she walked away, leaving behind only silence and the faint trace of her fingers burning against Emma's skin. Emma sat there for another 10 minutes, unable to move. That night, she didn't go straight home. She walked aimlessly around the neighborhood, trying to breathe through everything she was feeling. And what she was feeling was longing. Not just attraction, not just curiosity, but this deep, aching pull toward something that felt terrifying and undeniable. Something that felt like it could actually matter. When she finally got home, she collapsed onto the couch, kicked off her shoes, and stared at the ceiling for a long time. Her phone buzzed once. A message. From Leah. Still thinking about you, honey. Emma closed her eyes and pressed the phone to her chest. The next morning, she wore a deep navy blouse that made her eyes sharper. She let her hair down. She didn't mean to do it for Leah. She told herself it was just because it was Friday. That lie didn't even convince her reflection. When she arrived, Leah was already there, holding a coffee with Emma's name on it. "You're early," Emma said, taking it. "So are you," Leah replied, smiling. "Looks good on you." Emma tried not to smile back. She failed. The day passed fast, busy with approvals and final renders. They were finally starting to wrap the first stage of the campaign, and the relief was evident in everyone's mood. The team went out for drinks that evening. Emma never stayed for those. She always had an excuse, a deadline, a headache, a dog she didn't actually own. But when Leah looked at her and said, "You're coming, right?" Emma just nodded. The bar was loud, dimly lit, full of cheap beer and cheap flattery. Emma stood in the corner nursing a gin and tonic, watching her team laugh and loosen their collars. She wasn't used to seeing them like this, unguarded, human. Leah stood across the room, deep in conversation with one of the account managers. She was laughing, hand on the back of a chair, lips curved and red. Emma hated the sharp flare of jealousy that bloomed in her stomach. She turned away, stared down into her glass. She didn't notice Leah walking toward her until she was right there. "You okay?" Leah asked. "Yeah," Emma lied. "You sure?" Leah leaned in a little. "You look like you're overthinking something." "That's just my face," Emma said. Leah chuckled. "Want to get out of here?" Emma froze. Her breath caught. "What?" "I'm not asking for anything," Leah said quickly. "Just fresh air. Somewhere quieter. I don't want to share you with this room tonight." Emma's heart cracked open. "Okay," she whispered. They left without a word to the others. Outside, the night was cool, the city soft around the edges. They walked for a while without speaking, the silence between them familiar now.
Intimate.
Charged. They ended up near a bench in a quiet corner of a park, under a tree with golden leaves falling lazily onto the pavement. Leah sat first. Emma followed. "You still scared?" Leah asked after a long moment. Emma stared ahead. "Less." Leah turned to her. "Want me to say it again?" Emma swallowed. "Yes." Leah leaned in, close enough that Emma could feel her breath. "I want you." Emma's head turned. Their faces were inches apart. "Then take me," she said softly. And Leah did. The kiss wasn't rushed. It was slow, aching, deliberate. Like Leah had been waiting for this moment and wasn't going to waste a second of it. Emma melted into it, into her, into everything she'd tried so hard to hold back. She didn't know where it would lead. She didn't care. For now, all she knew was this. The word honey had started everything. But this kiss? This was the beginning of something real. The next morning, Emma woke up with Leah's lipstick smudged faintly against her own mouth, the taste of her still lingering on her lips, and one recurring thought playing in her head on a loop. What the hell did I just do? She hadn't invited Leah home. Hadn't even let the kiss stretch beyond the park bench. But it had been enough, more than enough. Enough to make her heart feel too big for her chest. Enough to burn through the walls she'd built like they were made of paper. And now, in the clean light of Saturday morning, it hit her. This wasn't just chemistry. Wasn't just office flirting or shared loneliness or boredom. Leah wanted her. And worse, Emma wanted her back. She stared at her phone, wondering if she should text. Something simple. Something casual. But what was casual about what had passed between them last night? How do you message someone who just kissed you like you were the first real thing they'd ever touched? She didn't text.
She didn't have to.
Because 2 hours later, her buzzer rang.
Leah.
Standing at her door like she belonged there, holding 2 coffees and a bag of pastries like this wasn't terrifying. "You didn't text," Leah said, leaning against the frame. "I wasn't sure if I should," Emma confessed. "You kissed me, honey," Leah said softly, eyes warm. "You think I'd let you ghost me after that?" Emma didn't laugh. She couldn't. Her chest was too tight with everything she was feeling. She stepped aside to let Leah in. "I don't usually do this," Emma said as the door closed. "Which part? The kissing? Or the letting someone in on a weekend?" "Both." Leah smiled. "Good. I like being the exception." They didn't talk about work. They didn't talk about timelines or deadlines or clients. They sat on the floor of Emma's apartment, eating flaky croissants and drinking coffee too strong, and they talked about other things: music, childhood, favorite meals, the worst date they'd ever been on. Emma told Leah about the time she'd pretended to be allergic to cats just to leave a date early. Leah laughed so hard, she nearly spilled her coffee. "You're way more chaotic than you pretend to be," she teased. "Don't tell anyone," Emma said, smiling for real. "Your secret's safe with me, honey," Leah murmured. And this time, when she said it, Emma didn't flinch. She didn't roll her eyes. She just closed her own for a moment, breathed in the sound of it. But Monday came, and with it, reality. When Emma walked into the agency that morning, everything looked the same, but felt different. Leah was already there, talking to another designer, looking professional and poised and distant. Emma hated how her stomach twisted.
She knew it had to be like this.
They hadn't defined anything. They hadn't promised anything. But part of her had hoped something would change. Maybe a glance. Maybe a smile meant just for her. But Leah barely acknowledged her. Throughout the day, Leah was cool, friendly, professional. But that was it. Nothing more. Emma tried to focus on work, but her thoughts were fractured. 1,000 possibilities spun in her head. Did Leah regret it? Was it just a kiss to her? A weekend indulgence? Or was Emma just spiraling again? Too deep, too fast, overthinking what might be nothing? During lunch, Leah finally stopped by her desk. "Quick update," she said, voice even. "Client moved the timeline. We're presenting Thursday instead of next week." "Okay," Emma said, her tone clipped. "Got it." Leah didn't move. Her eyes softened just a bit. "You good?" Emma looked up at her, then back at her screen. "Fine. Okay," Leah said quietly. "Just checking." And then she walked away. Emma watched her go, emotions crashing against each other inside her. Confusion, irritation, longing. She didn't want to play games. She didn't want to guess. That night, Emma stayed late, working alone in the copywriting suite. She needed the silence. She needed the structure of words. But halfway through rewriting a pitch slide, the door opened behind her.
Leah.
Holding 2 mugs. "Couldn't sleep," Leah said. "Figured you'd be here." Emma didn't speak. Leah set the mugs down and sat across from her. "You're mad." "I'm not," Emma said, lying. "You're hurt," Leah corrected. Emma hesitated. "Then, I just didn't expect you to act like nothing happened." Leah leaned forward. "I wasn't sure what you wanted. I didn't want to make it harder." "You didn't even look at me today," Emma said, her voice breaking. "You kissed me like you meant it, Leah. And then today you disappeared." Leah's jaw tightened. "Because if I look at you the way I want to look at you, I won't be able to stop." Emma's heart stopped. Leah continued, voice low, raw. "You undo me, Emma. And I don't know what that means yet, but it scares the hell out of me." Emma stood slowly, walked to her side of the table. "Then be scared," she whispered. "But don't shut me out." Leah stood too, facing her. The tension between them was thick again, but it wasn't flirtation anymore. It was something deeper, heavier. Emma reached up and touched Leah's face gently. "I don't want to be a distraction," she said. "You're not," Leah said, breathless. "You're the only thing keeping me grounded." This time, when their mouths met, it wasn't tentative. It was messy, real, hungry. Leah's hands found Emma's waist. Emma's fingers tangled in Leah's hair. It was the kind of kiss that made the walls of the office fade away, made the fluorescent lights and glass doors feel like the backdrop to something much more important. When they pulled apart, breathless, Leah smiled, finally, fully. "You wreck me," she whispered. "Right back at you," Emma said. "Honey." After that night, Emma stopped pretending. She stopped pretending she could separate her work from Leah. She stopped pretending that the fire between them could be tamed with logic or professionalism or space. Because no matter how carefully she tried to compartmentalize her life, Leah kept slipping through the cracks. Every glance, every smirk, every whisper of honey soft and rare like a secret only they shared. But the more real it became, the more dangerous it started to feel. At first, it was innocent enough. Or at least, it looked that way to everyone else. They still sat across from each other in meetings. They still edited copy and visuals side by side. They still acted like colleagues. But behind closed doors, after hours, in quiet corners, in stolen moments, they were something else entirely. Emma had never done this before. Never risked the one place she had control, her sanctuary of order and boundaries and professionalism. And yet, every time Leah's fingers brushed hers under the table, every time their eyes locked across the room and lingered just a moment too long, Emma let herself slip further into the blur.
It was exhilarating. And it was dangerous.
They were good at hiding it. For a while. But then came the New York pitch. A major client was flying in. Big budget. National reach. Every team had to prepare. And Emma, as usual, had built the narrative from scratch, spending long nights fine-tuning the language and flow of the campaign. Leah, of course, had crafted the visuals to match. It was their best collaboration yet. Everyone knew it. The project manager was practically salivating. But as the pressure built, so did the cracks. It started small. A missed message. A skipped lunch. Leah showing up late to a planning session without explanation. "Are you okay?" Emma asked one night as they stayed late polishing the deck. Leah gave a distracted smile.
"Yeah.
Just tired." But she didn't kiss Emma before leaving. And that silence hurt more than Emma expected. Over the next few days, Leah became quieter. She still looked at Emma, but she didn't reach for her hand under the table. She still texted, but only about work. No late-night thinking-about-you messages. No pet names. No honey. Emma didn't know how to bring it up. Didn't know if she was allowed to ask. After all, they hadn't defined anything. No labels. No promises. But when you go from being kissed in an office at midnight to being treated like you're invisible, it leaves a mark. On Thursday, the day before the pitch, the team gathered in the main conference room for final prep. The mood was tense. Emma stood at the head of the room, guiding everyone through the slides. Leah sat silently at the far end of the table, her tablet untouched. "Leah?" Emma prompted, trying to keep her tone neutral. "Anything you want to add on the visuals?" Leah looked up, startled. "They're fine."
Just that.
No detail. No passion. No fight. Emma's chest tightened. She turned back to the team, finishing the presentation without emotion, her voice robotic, her throat dry. After the meeting, as everyone filed out, Leah lingered. Emma didn't look at her. Not until Leah said, "Can we talk?" Emma didn't answer, just led her into the smaller private room beside the conference space. As soon as the door closed, Leah exhaled. "I'm sorry." Emma's arms crossed. "For what?" "For pulling away," Leah said. "I didn't know how to tell you." "Tell me what?" Emma asked, her voice sharper than intended. "That this suddenly doesn't mean anything?" "No," Leah said quickly. "That it means too much." Emma blinked. "What?" Leah took a step closer. "You scare the hell out of me, Emma. Not because I don't want this, but because I do. And I haven't wanted something real in so long, I forgot how it's supposed to feel." "Then why push me away?" Emma whispered. "Because I don't know how to want something without ruining it." Emma swallowed hard. Her voice shook when she spoke again. "You're not ruining it, but you're making me feel like I'm the only one standing in this." Leah's eyes filled with something like regret. Or guilt. Or both. "You're not," she said. I didn't know how to keep this from taking over everything. I didn't want it to get messy." Emma stepped forward, slow and deliberate. "Newsflash, Leah, it's already messy. It's already dangerous. But I'm still here." Leah let out a breath, like she'd been holding it for days. "I'm terrified of losing this job," she admitted. "Of us becoming gossip. Of screwing this up so badly it hurts more than it's worth." Emma's fingers reached out, brushing Leah's hand. "Then let's be smart. Let's go slow. But don't shut me out." Leah looked at her. Really looked. "You'd still want me even if we couldn't be open?" "I want you," Emma said. "Not the fantasy. Not the game. You." Leah's shoulders dropped slightly, like the weight she'd been carrying finally cracked. "Okay," she whispered. "Then we do it right. Quiet. Careful." Emma nodded. Together. And when they left that room, Nothing had been solved. Nothing had been defined. But they'd chosen each other. And for now, that was enough. That night, Emma sat on her couch, laptop on her legs, prepping final notes for the pitch. Her phone buzzed.
Leah.
Still thinking about you, honey. Emma smiled. And this time, she replied, come over. Leah showed up 20 minutes after Emma's message. She didn't knock like a stranger. She entered like she belonged there, soft smile on her lips, hair still slightly windblown from the night air. Emma had changed into something casual, bare feet on the floor, wine half poured in a glass she forgot she was holding. Neither of them said anything right away. Leah stepped inside, dropped her bag gently on the counter, and walked straight to her like she'd been doing it her whole life. The kiss wasn't rushed. It didn't need to be. It was slow, familiar now, like a continuation of something they'd been writing sentence by sentence, day by day, mistake by mistake. When they pulled apart, Leah rested her forehead against Emma's. Still thinking about me, honey? Emma smiled. Always. That night wasn't explosive. It was quiet, intimate, honest in a way neither of them had allowed themselves to be in years. Emma curled against Leah on the couch, her fingers tracing lazy lines across the other woman's wrist. They talked about nothing and everything. Emma's fear of losing control, Leah's instinct to run whenever something got too real. They fell asleep there, tangled, wine forgotten, tension unraveled. The next morning, Emma woke up to find Leah still asleep, one hand draped over her stomach, face buried in her shoulder. And for the first time in weeks, Emma didn't wake up with panic in her chest. She woke up with a steady warmth that hadn't faded by the time she left for work. They arrived separately, like always, pretended to be just colleagues, like always. But something was different now. Emma could feel it, in the way Leah lingered beside her longer at the coffee machine, in the way their conversations were threaded with an intimacy no one else could name. It was fragile, though, like glass. And on the day of the big pitch, that glass cracked. The presentation went well, exceptionally well. The client loved the concept, loved the execution, praised the narrative arc Emma had created and the visuals Leah had designed. It was one of those rare days when everything just worked. But after the meeting, as they gathered outside the boardroom, congratulating each other, the creative director made a joke, something offhand, something careless. No wonder the deck was so cohesive, he said with a smirk. You two practically share a brain lately. Or a bed. The air froze. Laughter trickled off, awkwardly. Emma's spine locked into place. Leah's smile faltered. The project manager cleared her throat. Okay, back to work, everyone. The crowd dispersed. Emma didn't move. Leah didn't either. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second, enough to say we're not okay. Enough to say someone noticed. That night, Emma didn't sleep. The joke wasn't proof. It wasn't an accusation. But it was a warning. Their secret was slipping. The next day, HR sent out an all-staff reminder email about workplace boundaries and relationships. General. Impersonal. But the timing wasn't. Emma stared at the screen, cold spreading through her limbs. At lunch, she pulled Leah into the stairwell. Did you see the email? Yeah, Leah said quietly. Do you think it's about us? I don't know, Leah admitted. But I think people are talking. Emma felt something inside her tighten. We were careful. We thought we were careful, Leah said. But I kissed you in the hallway last week. We left together after drinks. We keep looking at each other like we are, Emma finished. Leah nodded. We can't keep this going if it's going to hurt your job. Or mine. So what do we do? Emma asked, voice cracking. Stop. Leah looked at her, long and hard. Do you want to? Emma didn't answer. She couldn't. Because no, she didn't want to. Not even a little. But she also didn't want to lose the only place in her life where she felt in control. And the thing between them was starting to unravel that balance. That weekend, Emma went quiet. She didn't call, didn't text. Leah didn't either. The silence was unbearable. She kept checking her phone, hoping for some excuse, some spark. Nothing came. By Sunday evening, she was pacing her apartment, heart aching in a way that felt physical. She opened a blank note on her phone, typed "I miss you," then deleted it. Started again. "This is harder than I thought." Deleted that too. She couldn't do this halfway. On Monday, Leah avoided her eyes. During meetings, she was cold, brief, purely professional. Emma matched her energy out of spite and fear. But it burned. God, it burned. After the second meeting, Emma walked past Leah in the hallway, brushing her shoulder just slightly as she passed. Leah didn't look back. Emma spent the afternoon pretending to be fine. Around 5, she packed her things and left early, something she never did. She walked without direction, hands shoved deep in her coat pockets, teeth clenched against the wind. It wasn't supposed to feel like this. It wasn't supposed to hurt this much. She found herself outside Leah's apartment without remembering how she got there. She stood in front of the door, heart pounding like it wanted out of her chest. She knocked. Leah opened, surprised. "Emma, I don't want to lose you," Emma said, voice low. "I don't care who saw or what they think. I don't care if it's messy. Leah didn't let her finish. She pulled her inside, closed the door, and kissed her like the world was ending. And maybe in a way it was. Because after that kiss, there was no more pretending. No more space. No more silence. They didn't talk that night. Not with words. Leah kissed her like she'd been holding her breath for days, like Emma was oxygen, like every doubt and fear had been building into this moment, and the only way to survive was to close the distance. Emma kissed her back with everything she had, with desperation and relief, and something rawer than she'd ever let herself feel. They didn't make it to the bedroom. The living room was as far as they got, tangled in each other on the couch, shedding layers of clothing between whispered moans and stifled gasps. There was no performance in it. No seduction for the sake of dominance. It was vulnerable and messy, and impossibly tender. When Leah touched her, it wasn't just to provoke a reaction. It was to memorize her, to hold her like she was precious, like she mattered. And Emma, for the first time in longer than she could remember, didn't hold back. She didn't flinch, didn't doubt,
Didn't overthink.
She let herself be wanted, and she let herself want back. They fell asleep tangled together on the rug, still half-dressed, Emma's hand resting lightly against Leah's bare waist. She woke up first, just before sunrise, and stared at the soft outline of Leah's face in the dim light. She looked peaceful, open, human in a way that had nothing to do with her confidence or her charm or her curated boldness. Emma traced the line of Leah's jaw with her eyes and thought, God, I'm in trouble. Because this wasn't just a crush anymore. Wasn't a passing thrill or a reckless mistake. It was something deeper. And maybe it had been from the start. Leah stirred, blinking slowly. Are you watching me sleep, honey? Emma smiled. Maybe. Leah stretched, a quiet groan in her throat. Do I look dreamy? You look smug. Well, I did have a very satisfying night, Leah murmured. Professionally, I mean. That pitch? Incredible. Emma laughed softly. You're unbearable. You love it. Leah kissed her cheek, then stood.
Come on.
We both have to pretend to be normal in less than an hour. The mood lightened, but beneath the banter, there was tension. Gentler now, but present. They didn't talk about what this meant. They didn't define it. They didn't make promises. But something had shifted again. And this time, there was no way to go back. That week, they became something like addicts. They kept it secret, yes. Always careful. Always professional in front of others. But in every spare second, between meetings in empty rooms, in passing glances, they found each other. Leah would whisper honey against Emma's ear while brushing past her in the hallway. Emma would leave handwritten notes on Leah's desk. You drive me crazy, but somehow I still want you. One night, Emma found herself backing Leah into the supply closet after everyone had left, locking the door behind them and kissing her until her lipstick smeared. God, Leah had whispered, breathless. You're getting bold. You make me reckless, Emma murmured. You like it. I love it. But while the passion burned brighter, so did the spotlight. More glances. More whispers. An email from HR subtly reminding everyone of the agency's dating policy. Another offhand comment from a coworker about how tight Emma and Leah had become. It was getting harder to hide. And Emma, for the first time, started to feel the fear Leah had talked about weeks before. What if they got caught? What if it cost them everything? But it wasn't just about consequences anymore. It was about risk, about choice, about whether they were brave enough to stop pretending. One afternoon, during a campaign review, the tension cracked again. Leah was presenting a new visual direction. Bold, elegant, romantic. "It's emotional," she said, pacing the room, pointer in hand. "It's about craving not just something beautiful, but something meaningful. Something intimate." Emma felt those words hit her like a punch. The entire team was silent, focused. But Leah's eyes flicked to her for a second. And in that second, Emma knew. This wasn't just about the campaign. Leah was trying to say something. Without saying it. That night, Emma stayed late.
So did Leah.
They didn't plan it. They didn't speak until everyone else had left. And then, slowly, Emma walked into Leah's office and closed the door. "We can't keep doing this in the dark," she said. Leah looked up. "You want to tell them?" "I don't want to hide," Emma clarified. "I'm tired of pretending I don't feel what I feel. Every day. Every time I look at you." Leah stood, cautious. "Emma, if we take this step, there's no one doing it. People will talk. We might get reassigned. The dynamic will change." "I know," Emma said. "But I'd rather deal with that than keep pretending this doesn't matter. Because it does." "You do." Leah stared at her for a long moment. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure about anything." Leah crossed the room and kissed her softly. "Then let's do it," she whispered. "Let's stop hiding." Emma smiled. "Together?" "Always, honey." They didn't make an announcement. There were no declarations, no mass email, no dramatic scene in the office kitchen. But on Monday morning, Leah walked into the building holding Emma's hand. Simple, quiet, unmistakable. They released each other's fingers just before reaching the main work floor, but it didn't matter.
Someone saw. Someone always saw.
By noon, the entire agency buzzed like a stirred hive. There were no direct confrontations, no accusations, just the shift in air, the longer stares, the whispers that stopped when they entered a room. Emma pretended not to notice. She dove into emails, into creative reviews, into deadlines. But she felt it. Every second. She felt her coworkers parsing her tone, analyzing her smiles, watching her every interaction with Leah. And Leah, Leah handled it like she always did. With unapologetic calm. She smiled when she wanted. She stood close when she wanted. And when someone asked, "So, is it true?" Leah simply tilted her head and replied, "If it is, does it change the work?" That answer didn't stop the whispering. But it reminded people who they were dealing with. Emma admired her for that. She envied it too. Because as the week wore on, the pressure tightened around her like a noose. During a leadership meeting, the creative director cleared his throat and said, "Emma, Leah, can I speak to you both for a moment?" The office fell into an artificial silence as they followed him into his glass-walled office. The door clicked shut. "You two know I respect the work," he said, not sitting. "But the rumors are distracting people. They're disrupting the team's focus." Leah folded her arms. "Then tell the team to focus. I'm telling you to be discreet." His tone was sharp now. "Whatever you're doing outside these walls, keep it there. I don't care. But in here, you need to be neutral. No glances, no notes, no energy that can be read as personal." Emma felt a cold wash in her chest. "We haven't crossed any professional lines," she said. "We've hit every deadline. Our campaigns are performing better than ever." "And still, this is what people are watching," he replied. "Perception matters, Emma. If someone files a complaint, if this escalates, I won't have much of a choice." Emma stiffened. "You'd separate us?" "I'd have to." Leah stepped forward, calm but firm. "We've done everything by the book. There are no policies against consenting relationships between peers. You know that." "I also know optics can kill morale," he snapped. "I'm not telling you to stop. I'm telling you to choose. Keep your private life private, or prepare for professional adjustments. The conversation ended without resolution. Emma returned to her desk shaken. Leah passed her once that afternoon and didn't look her way. It shouldn't have hurt, but it did. That night, they met in Emma's apartment again. And this time, it wasn't about passion. It wasn't about kisses or hunger or laughter. It was about fear. They're going to make us pay for this, Emma said, curled against Leah on the couch. Maybe not officially, but they're going to find a way to punish us. Leah didn't argue. We knew this might happen. Did we? Emma asked, voice trembling. Or did we just pretend we were too good to get caught? Leah's eyes were tired, but steady. We didn't get caught. We stepped into the light. Emma shook her head. I don't want to lose what we've built at that place. Then don't, Leah said simply. Don't give them a reason. They don't need a reason, Emma whispered. They just need a story. Leah pulled her close. Then we write a better one. And for the first time since the rumor storm started, Emma believed her. The next morning they adjusted. They didn't hide, but they didn't offer. Their desks remained separate. Their interactions efficient. Their tone clipped when necessary. They played the game. But something had changed.
People still stared.
Still whispered. But there was no longer anything to find. It drove the gossipers mad. And then came the project reshuffle. Emma was called into a surprise meeting with HR. They commended her work and praised her leadership, but informed her she would now be working on a different client, unrelated to Leah's projects. Purely logistical, they said. An opportunity to diversify talent. Emma sat in silence for a long time after the meeting. When she told Leah, Leah's jaw clenched. They're splitting us up. Not officially, Emma replied. But yes. Leah paced the room. They're scared of us. They should be, Emma said softly. We're good together. Leah looked at her. What do you want to do? Emma didn't answer immediately. She looked out the window at the skyline, at everything she thought she'd built, everything she was still trying to protect. I want to do the job. And I want to keep you. You don't have to choose, Leah said. Then let's make sure they don't force me to. Emma stood. We'll play their game for now. But I'm done being quiet. I love what we've made. And I'm not sorry for loving you. Leah's eyes widened. She hadn't said it yet. Neither had Emma. But there it was. Out in the open. Leah stepped forward slowly. Say that again. Emma's throat tightened. I'm not sorry for loving you. Leah kissed her like she couldn't bear to wait a second longer. Like that single sentence had undone her. Because it had. Everything was different now. The love was no longer implied. It was real. And they were choosing each other in the face of risk, in the face of pressure, in the face of every quiet punishment the world had lined up for them. And still, Emma whispered against her mouth, you still drive me insane. Leah smiled. That's okay, honey. You love me anyway. Emma hadn't planned on saying it that night. I'm not sorry for loving you. The words had escaped her before she could cage them, before she could weigh the risks and calculate the fallout like she did with every other decision in her life. But once they were out, she didn't want them back. She didn't regret it. Not even for a second. Leah hadn't said it back. Not exactly, but she didn't have to. The way she kissed Emma after, the way her hands trembled against her skin, the way she whispered, finally, like she'd been waiting for this moment long before Emma even admitted there was something between them, it said more than words could. They made love that night with a new kind of urgency. Not frantic, not desperate, but with the quiet reverence of two people who finally stopped running from the truth. It wasn't just one anymore. It was need. It was choice.
And it was terrifying.
The next morning, everything looked the same, but Emma wasn't the same. Neither era Leah. They'd stopped hiding from each other. But they weren't naive. The agency had drawn its line. HR might not have said it outright, but the message was clear. Your love is inconvenient. And inconvenient things are moved, silenced, broken apart. Emma stared at her screen, eyes on a campaign brief she could barely process. She wasn't thinking about the brand tone or the social rollout. She was thinking about how fast everything could fall apart. Her phone vibrated. A Slack notification from Leah. Can we meet? 8th floor, west stairwell. 3 p.m., Emma typed. Confirmed. When she arrived, Leah was already there, pacing. You look like you're about to quit, Emma said softly. Leah stopped. I might. Emma's heart punched. What? I got a call, Leah said. From a studio I used to work with in Paris. They're launching a new creative division in New York. They want me to lead it. Emma stared. You're leaving? They want me to start in 2 weeks. And what do you want? Emma asked. Leah hesitated. I don't know. Yes, you do, Emma said. You just don't want to say out loud. I don't want to ask you to choose between your job and me. And I don't want you to walk away from everything we've built because of office politics, Emma said, voice rising. We've worked our asses off here. Exactly, Leah replied. And now we're being punished for falling in love. Emma swallowed hard. So, what are you saying? Leah's voice dropped. I'm saying we might be better off starting somewhere fresh. Somewhere we can be ourselves. Emma felt the ground shift under her feet. She had spent years anchoring herself to this job, to this company, to the image of control and excellence she had carefully constructed. And now Leah was asking her to consider letting it go. You want me to leave with you? Emma whispered. I want us to choose each other, Leah said. But I also know what this place means to you. Emma didn't answer. She left. She didn't speak to Leah for the rest of the day. Her mind was chaos. Her body buzzed with adrenaline and fear. That night, she didn't go home. She walked. For hours. Through side streets and avenues. Past bars and bookstores and cafes that meant nothing to her. She kept thinking about her first day at the agency, how small and invisible she'd felt. How hard she'd worked to climb. To prove herself. To be taken seriously. And now she was being asked to choose. But maybe the real question wasn't about choosing between Leah and her career. Maybe it was about choosing between who she used to be and who she was now. The next morning, Emma walked into the office early. She went straight to the creative director's office and asked to speak privately. I want to address the reshuffling, she said. I know why it happened. He blinked. Emma, no, let me finish. You don't have to say it, and I won't accuse you of anything formal. But we both know that being reassigned had less to do with performance and more to do with perception. Your relationship, my relationship has never interfered with my work, Emma cut in. And I refuse to be punished for being a human being.
For feeling something.
For falling in love. He looked down, uncomfortable. What do you want me to do? Nothing, Emma said. Because I'm done waiting for this place to recognize my value. You're quitting? She took a breath. Not yet. But I'm not staying in this silence. I've already made my decision. She left the office without waiting for a response. And later that day, she waited by the elevators until she saw Leah coming around the corner. Emma stepped into her path, grabbed her hand, and pulled her into the stairwell again. You said you wanted us to choose each other, Emma said. So, let's do it. Leah blinked. You're serious? You take the job, Emma said. You go to that studio. And I'll be right there with you. Not because I'm running, but because I'm finally choosing something that scares me more than failure. Me? Leah whispered. Us, Emma corrected. We'll build something better. Leah kissed her so hard Emma lost her footing, her breath, her certainty that any of this had ever been impossible. We're really doing this, Leah said, breathless. Emma nodded. You and me, honey. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of who might be listening. The decision was made. Irrevocable. Defiant. Emma had given her answer with clarity she didn't know she was capable of. Yes. Yes to Leah. Yes to change. Yes to the terrifying possibility that life could be more than calculated safety and slow suffocation. She had no plan beyond that. No perfect next step mapped out, no 5-year trajectory. Just one truth. She was done shrinking herself for the comfort of others. She was done choosing silence over feeling. And she was done pretending her love for Leah was anything but the most important thing in her life. 2 weeks later, Emma closed her laptop for the last time at the agency. Her desk was bare, files transferred, inbox archived. The goodbye was quiet, just the way she wanted. No farewell speeches. No performative hugs. Only Ava from accounting slipped her a folded note. Whatever you're walking toward, I hope it's bigger than what you're leaving behind. Emma tucked it into her coat pocket without a word. Leah had resigned a week before her, but they'd staggered their exits intentionally. No public overlap. No spectacle. Still, people knew. People talked. But none of it mattered anymore. That chapter was over. And what came next didn't scare Emma as much as it used to. On their first morning without work, Emma and Leah lay tangled in bed, phones silenced, blinds half open to let the soft golden light pour across the sheets. It felt unreal, like the breath that comes after the plunge. "We're really out," Leah said, her voice still hoarse with sleep. "We're really free." Emma shifted closer, her fingers trailing down Leah's spine. "It doesn't feel real yet. What does it feel like?" "Like peace," Emma whispered. "But also like we just jumped off a cliff with no parachute." Leah laughed. "Good. That's how you know it's worth it." They spent that first week rebuilding themselves, sleeping in, walking the city like tourists in their own lives. Leah took Emma to bookstores she loved, to galleries she hadn't visited since college, to rooftops she used to escape to when she needed silence. Emma taught Leah how to cook something other than pasta and eggs. They kissed in public. They danced barefoot in Emma's apartment when it rained. They started to dream out loud. "You think it's too risky?" Leah asked one night as they shared a bottle of wine on the fire escape. "Starting our own studio?" Emma didn't flinch. "Everything about us has been risky. Look where it got us." "Burned. Free," Emma corrected. "And together." Leah reached for her hand. "Then let's do it." They named it Honey Studio, half joke, half tribute. It started small. One client Leah brought from Paris. One retainer Emma secured through a contact in branding. But from the beginning, it felt different. They worked in Leah's loft, turning the second bedroom into a chaotic creative nest, whiteboards, sketches taped to the wall, Emma's laptop always open, always humming. The work wasn't easy. Deadlines were brutal, budgets tight. There were nights they argued over tone and strategy, and who forgot to invoice the damn client again. But none of the fights ever left scars. Because under every disagreement was one unshakable truth. They were building something together. And not just a company, a life. One afternoon, Emma sat at the desk editing a client deck when Leah dropped a folder beside her. "New pitch," she said. "Big one." "How big?" "Big enough to change everything. They want bold. They want fresh. They want intimate storytelling." Emma blinked. "That's us." "Exactly." Leah leaned in, brushing a kiss to her cheek. "Want to work late with me tonight, honey?" Emma smirked. "Only if you promise to bribe me with takeout." "Done." That night, they worked until nearly midnight, writing, designing, laughing, arguing over fonts. When the file was finally finished, Leah collapsed onto the floor and pulled Emma down beside her. "This is real," Leah said. "I know, and it's ours." Emma nodded, eyes glassy. "You remember the day you called me honey in that meeting?" Leah laughed. "You looked like you were going to murder me." "I nearly did. But you didn't." "No," Emma leaned in. "I fell for you instead." Leah smiled. "You're still doing it." "What?" "Looking at me like I'm everything." Emma kissed her. "Because you are." They lay there in the quiet, hearts steady, hands intertwined. No secrets. No shadows. No hiding. Just two women who had risked everything, and somehow had found everything in return. The first crack came quietly. Not in their relationship, never in that, but in the world around what they were building. It was a Tuesday. Rain tapping at the windows, coffee cooling too fast on the desk, inbox full of revisions and demands, and one particularly cold email from the biggest client they'd landed at Honey Studio. "We've decided to pause the campaign due to internal restructuring. Your contract is terminated effective immediately. Please forward final invoices by end of week." Emma stared at the screen for a long time, fingers frozen. We just launched their teaser yesterday, she said aloud. Leah looked up from the couch, tablet in her lap.
What?
Emma turned the screen toward her. Leah read it once, twice. Then her jaw clenched. They cut us. Just like that. No warning. None. They loved the work. Doesn't matter, Emma said, voice hollow. They don't care. And that was the part that stung, the way corporations could take something beautiful and strip it of worth in a single sentence. The way effort and heart didn't always equal stability. That week, things got tight. Financially, emotionally. They didn't panic, not outwardly. But Emma started waking up in the middle of the night with her heart pounding, and Leah began double-checking every invoice twice, 3 times, like a missed zero could collapse everything. They downsized little luxuries. Takeout became grocery store pasta. Design subscriptions were canceled. The backup cloud drive shut off. But they never cut the studio. Never once considered walking away. We'll fix it, Leah said, one night as they lay on the living room floor surrounded by pitch drafts and unpaid bills. We've done harder things. Emma nodded, but her throat was tight. You still believe in this? More than ever, Leah whispered. And then, 2 days later, a second blow. An old friend of Leah's, a creative director from Paris, sent her a message. Just heard a rumor that Honey Studio's been dropped by Belrose. You okay? Emma read the message and went cold. How does someone in France know about that already? Leah exhaled. Word travels, especially when someone wants it to. You think our old agency is behind it? Wouldn't be the first time someone burned a bridge after we left. They're trying to ruin our name. No, Leah said, steel in her voice. They're just scared we're actually doing it. Emma didn't respond. Because beneath the rage and fire in Leah's voice, Emma felt the weight of it. How fragile success was, how quickly a story could be rewritten if you didn't control the narrative. We need to fight back, she said finally. Not with drama. With work. We remind people who we are. Leah smiled. You mean who we've always been? Exactly. That night, they didn't sleep. They redesigned their site, rewrote their brand language, created a new campaign targeting smaller, local businesses, people who would see them, people who wouldn't play the same power games. They built a series of social posts explaining their mission, creative honesty, emotional storytelling, fearless authenticity. The first post read, "We believe the best stories are built with fire, trust, and a little sweetness. At Honey Studio, we don't sugarcoat. We create. Boldly. Fiercely. Together." The post went semi-viral. Not millions, but enough. Enough to draw attention. Enough to make people feel. DMs started coming in. Inquiries. Tiny brands. Local bookstores. Indie fashion labels. Small businesses run by women, by queer folks, by artists tired of big agency ego and empty promises. Emma took every call. Leah built every deck. They worked until their eyes burned. But this time they didn't just survive. They grew. Slowly. Honestly. With their name on the door and each other's fingerprints on every part of it. One night, Leah stood behind Emma as she finished uploading a set of final assets. She leaned down, pressed a kiss to the back of her neck, and whispered, "I'm proud of you." Emma turned around, wrapping her arms around Leah's waist. "I'm proud of us. This could have broken us." It didn't. You know why? Leah asked. Emma raised an eyebrow. Leah kissed her cheek. "Because you never gave up on me." Emma smiled. "Because you never stopped calling me honey." Leah grinned. "And I never will." They kissed long and slow and quiet. And in that silence, the kind that only exists between two people who fought for everything, Emma realized something. The world could burn around them, clients could disappear, money could tighten, doubt could knock. But as long as Leah looked at her like this, as long as they kept choosing each other in the chaos, there was nothing they couldn't rebuild. Love didn't protect you from pain, but it made surviving it worth something. 1 year later, Emma stood in front of the Honey Studio sign mounted on the glass entrance of their new office. Real office. Real address. Not a loft, not a spare room, not a temporary co-working table squeezed between strangers. This was theirs. Brick walls, tall windows, a battered leather couch they found at a thrift store and refused to replace. There were plants. There were shelves stacked with sketches, mock-ups, books about design and copy and love. There was a corkboard full of sticky notes from past clients with messages like, "You saved our brand," and "We finally feel seen." And there was Leah, barefoot, standing on a ladder inside with a paint roller in one hand and a paint-streaked bandana in her hair. "You're staring at me again," Leah called without turning. Emma smiled. "I like what I see." "The paint." "You." Leah looked over her shoulder. "Still. Always. God, you're such a sap now." "Only for you." Leah laughed and climbed down. Her cheeks were flushed, her tank top speckled with white paint. She looked radiant.
Real.
The kind of woman you fall in love with every day, even after she steals the last oat milk or forgets to charge her phone. Emma stepped inside, wrapping her arms around her from behind. "Do you remember the first time I called you honey?" "Vividly. You looked like you wanted to die." "And now?" Leah turned, kissed her gently. "Now I call you that every chance I get. Still makes my stomach flip. Still makes mine warm." They kissed again, deeper this time. Not the kiss of people stealing a moment, but of two women who had built a life out of stolen moments until there was nothing left to steal, only share. After everything, the risks, the rumors, the losses, the rebuilding, this was what remained. And it was enough. More than enough. Later that day, they hosted their first open house. Friends, collaborators, former clients. The space buzzed with energy, with laughter, with people wandering from wall to wall admiring the campaigns they'd created. Someone from a major lifestyle magazine walked in, asking if they could do a feature on queer-led creative agencies, shaking up the industry. Emma was stunned. Leah said yes without blinking. "Tell the real story," she said. "We built this because we weren't allowed to thrive in someone else's story. So we wrote our own." By sunset, everyone had gone. The lights were dimmed. The music was off. Emma and Leah sat together on the couch, sharing a bottle of wine, shoes off, legs curled into each other. Emma rested her head on Leah's shoulder. "You scared?" Leah asked quietly. "Still," Emma admitted. "But not of us. Just of how much this matters." "You think we'll make it?" "We already have." Leah turned to face her. "Say it again." Emma smiled, leaned in, and whispered, "I'm not sorry for loving you." Leah blinked slowly. Her voice was barely audible. "I love you too. You know that, right?"
Yeah.
"Even when I annoy you. Even when I take calls during dinner and leave my shoes in the hallway and ask you to rewrite the same line 3 times. Emma kissed her. "Especially then." "You still think I'm dangerous?" "Always. And I still want you anyway. Even now." "Especially now, honey." Leah exhaled like she was letting go of the last weight she didn't know she'd been carrying. They sat in the quiet for a while, just breathing, hearts beating in sync. No chaos. No tension. No need to hide. Just 2 women, 1 story, and everything they chose to build. A phone vibrated. A new project inquiry. Leah reached for it, but Emma caught her wrist.
"Later," she said.
"Let's just be here." Leah nodded, settling back into her arms. Outside, the city buzzed with its usual noise, but in that moment, it felt far away, like another life they had already outgrown. Inside, there was warmth, laughter, the fading scent of paint, and love. Not fragile, not forbidden. Just real. Steady. Chosen. Built from a single mistake. A single word. Honey. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.